technical issues, or do we have those resolved now? Then I'm inclined to press on. So I'll go ahead and call our meeting to order, meeting of the full board. And before we begin, I would like to remind everybody, please silence your cell phones. We still are getting a little bit of feedback. Some of that I'm being told is from people not muting their cell phones. Some of that is from our volumes being too high on our speakers. Action item number 1, approval of the minutes. The minutes of July 30th meeting and the August 26th special meeting begin on page 1-1 of the agenda book. Are there any questions or changes to these minutes? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the July 30 and August 26 meetings?
Approved. So moved.
It's Greg
Second.
Revels. I second.
Thank you for that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you for that. Action item number 2 is the appointment of the nominating committee for the 2022-2023 board officers. And for this nominating committee, I've asked Mr. Greg Revels to head up that committee. And I've also solicited the support from Ms. Grayson Bigger and Ms. Lori Griffin. Do I hear any questions, any other issues to be brought up about the nominating committee? Do I hear a motion to approve the appointment of the nominating committee for the 2022-23 board officers?
This is Chad Hooten. I make a motion we approve the nominations of these 3.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Moving on, agenda item number 3. Dr. Markham will present the approval of the 2022 coordinating board meeting schedule. Dr. Markham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have tentatively set everything for Zoom, not knowing what our COVID situation will be. The dates are listed on the slide in front of you. However, we have every intention of moving this back to a face-to-face physical meeting as soon as practical and safe. So as we get closer to these dates, we will explore moving those back to either the department or one of our great institutions to host. So those are our proposed dates at this point.
Dr. Markham, I do have a question on this. I have been asked by at least 3 board members if the Department of Higher Education has any criteria set forth for a face-to-face meeting as it applies to us reconvening in person. And I was unable to answer that. Are there any criteria as it applies to social distancing, number of people in the room, masks, et cetera? Is there anything set in stone that would give us guidance on the ability to meet in person?
No, sir. All of our, the state of Arkansas has lifted all of the requirements. So it's really just the pleasure of the chair. From the last year or so, we've just watched case numbers and whatever we felt prudent at that time. However, we are not under any physical meeting restrictions.
Wonderful. Are there any other questions for Dr. Markham? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve the 2022 coordinating board meeting schedule?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Information agenda item number 4. Dr. Markham will present her director's report. Dr. Markham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the full report of the activities of my office can be found beginning on page 4-1 of your agenda book. lots of pretty pictures of meetings such as this still going on. Very little travel, although we have some things on the books. We look like it looks to be that we will be able to do some travel starting next month. So we're looking forward to getting out from behind the computers and meeting the world again. So that is my report of my activities. We do have some new members to our agency. I am happy to introduce you to 4 of our great new team members. Terry Hunkapiller is our new Perkins Federal Program Manager. She started with us in August. As per usual, we stole her from an institution. I had the pleasure of serving alongside Terry as a Perkins coordinator probably 10 years ago. So she is definitely the subject matter expert in that area. And we are so happy to have Terry here. We have a new employee in our veterans training program, Alexia Thomas, joined us in August as well. And she is already a great member of our team. So we're so happy to have her. We stole a member from Johnny Key, the Department of Education. We got Jamal Gaines over to our information technology department. He's doing a great job for us. Welcomed him in September. And then also we have a new outreach and events officer for our Engage Arkansas program, Star Crow, and she began in September as well. Next slide, Nicole. Okay, there we go. I'm so happy to introduce you to our new Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Eric Flowers. His first day is actually Monday. I think he is on the call today getting a feel for how our meetings go. But next board meeting, he will be presenting the academic items instead of me. So we also stole this employee from Department of Education, and he will retain that title as the Chief Opportunity Officer for the Department of Ed. As well as Chief Academic Officer and Director of Academic Affairs for AHECB. He has a really rich background in higher education. His terminal degree, his EDD or PhD, actually I believe it's PhD, is actually in higher education administration. He's worked a lot on the student affairs and student success side of the house. He's done a lot of work on equity and inclusion and diversity, as well as work with our student organizations, Greek affairs, and those types of student engagement efforts. So we are so happy to have Dr. Flowers. He starts on Monday. You will be hearing from him, so wanted to announce him a little before his start date. We have one new institutional leadership announcement, and that is Dr. Charles Robinson. He is taken over as Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs at the U of A in Fayetteville. So welcome to the crew, Dr. Robinson. I did want to make a quick mention of something that you've probably heard in the news. We had a proprietary institution close recently. Vista College had a branch campus in Fort Smith. They're actually located out of Richardson, Texas, but they offered associate degrees and certificates. They closed with very little notice. They had 354 students at the Fort Smith campus at the time of their closure. We have obtained all of their transcripts and we're sending those to the students upon their request. You heard from Alana Bowles earlier. She is the lead on this project. Several of our public colleges and universities have been in contact with these students in hopes of salvaging some of their earned credentials and keeping them engaged in higher education so that they can graduate. Okay, and our spotlight today for our programs at higher ed is our Arkansas Career Pathways Initiative. I've asked the director, Monisa West, to join us and give you some information on this extremely successful program that we get a lot of national attention for, and wanted to make sure that the board and our institutional leaders had an opportunity to hear something about that. So Monisa, are you on the line?
I am. Thank you, Dr. Markham. My pleasure to be here today. As she said, I'm Monisa West, and I direct the Arkansas Career Pathways Initiative. It's a great opportunity today, and I thank you for the opportunity to tell our story. As Dr. Markham said, it is a nationally recognized program and one that we are very proud of in higher ed, but also in the state. The program began in 2003. If you would go back just a little bit, Nicole. The program began in 2003 as a special project of the National Governors Association. And at that time, it received initial funding through the Southern Good Faith Fund in Pine Bluff, Southeast Arkansas Community College, and then the Arkansas Community Colleges Organization. In 2007, Act 514 of the Arkansas Legislature established it as one of 5 permanently funded TANF-funded programs to address to help low-income families move into self-sufficiency. So please, next slide, Nicole. I'm going to share with you some pictures of our students who have graduated successfully. This here is Penny. She came to us as a single mom with a 7-month-old child working part-time at McDonald's. And you can see her here being sworn in as a police officer for the El Dorado Police Department. And she is currently pursuing her bachelor's degree. So a great success story there, which really speaks to the purpose of our program. It is to end the dependency of needy parents on government benefits. And we do that through improving educational and employment opportunities for TANF and TANF eligible adults. And I will get to that criteria in just one moment. We want to increase enrollment in college level certificates and associate degree programs. We want to increase the number of those students who enroll with us that actually attain a credit or non-credit credential. And then ultimately, we want to increase their job attainment and retention so that they can move off of government benefits. Next. It is a partnership between the Arkansas Department of Workforce Services, Higher Ed, and the community colleges. In the state of Arkansas, TANF funds come to the Department of Human Services. They determine eligibility. They then request the Department of Workforce Services to provide the case management for those TANF eligible individuals. And if training is an appropriate option for them, then they have, through the MOA with Higher Ed, refer those students to our community colleges for instruction. So there is that strong partnership, and one that really serves the population that we serve very well. Next, and you can see here on the map that we are in all 22 community colleges, and then we also have 3 locations of the technical centers in Crossett and McGee for University of Arkansas at Monticello, and then the Ozark campus of Arkansas Tech. If you look strictly at the numbers, we've been in business for 15 years. We are in those 25 sites, and over that course of time, we've served almost 100,000 students. The information below the line there is on, it comes from fiscal year 21. We provided almost $6 million to the colleges to provide the services that I will describe to you a little bit later. Of our students, just more than half are white, about a third are African-American, and we have a very small population of Hispanic students, which gives us an opportunity for expansion. In 21, we had just over 3,100 students, of which huge amounts are female, 93%. Over 2/3 are single parents, and our average age is slowly going down. Currently, it is at 30 years old, and typically our students will have 1 or at least 2 students children in the home. As you can imagine, most of our students are from low-income environments, so almost 80% are Pell eligible. 60% of them have household income of less than 100% of the federal poverty line, and for a family of 3 in Arkansas, that's just almost $22,000. 16% of those are temporary assistant educational or temporary employment assistance participants. And most of our students do come to us with a high school degree, but we have some that are enrolled in GED programs or referred for short-term certificates or things of that nature. By and away, the largest program that we have students in is allied health. And then our next largest is in general education for those students who are wanting to go on into higher level degrees. In 21, we awarded almost 2,000 credentials. That includes for credit and non-credit. And of those credits, about 65% of them were college credit, which would be a certificate of proficiency, a technical certificate, or an associate's degree. But we also do the very short-term non-credit so that people can move into employment as quickly as possible so that they can remove themselves from government services. Next. Oh, go back one. This is Charlotta, and Charlotta is a wonderful story. She was a young mother living in public housing, and she is now a nurse and a shift supervisor and has purchased her home, first person in her family to do so. So a wonderful success story for Charlotta and her young son. Charlotta is eligible because she is a U.S. Citizen and an Arkansas resident. She has a child in the home where she is the custodial parent or a caretaker of a child under 21. And Charlotta and other students qualify on income if they are a current or former T recipient, or if they currently receive SNAP, Our Kids First, or Medicaid. And if they're not receiving any of those benefits, then if they have a household income less than 250% of the federal poverty level, they are eligible. And for a family of 3 at that level, it's almost $55,000. So we serve a wide variety of income levels, as well as those who are currently on government assistance. So this is Mikey. Mikey self-describes himself as somebody that had just been hanging out. And after getting his CDL license, he began hauling cattle for a farming operation, making almost $2,000 a week. So quite a success story there. Mikey is one of those students who took advantage of our core services. And those are anything related to educational expenses, tuition, books, fees, certifications, scrubs, welding shoes, you name it, those kinds of things. But we also offer childcare, transportation, and technology assistance to reduce some of the barriers that students find over and above just their educational experience. But one of the real highlights and one of the real benefits of our program is the support services that our staffs at the community colleges provide: case management, coaching, being there, holding hands, hugging necks, anything to make the student know that they can move on and can be successful and that there's somebody is in their corner. We do provide a lot of academic support as well as career development services. Candace has already graduated by the time we began to offer some special projects, but she is such a success story. I wanted to share that with you. She was a single mother at age 19 and was also taking care of her 4 siblings because their mother was incarcerated. She has now earned her doctorate of nursing, is working at UAMS, and a wonderful success story. Not all of them go on to that doctorate level, but many that we do have some that do, and certainly she has changed her life. Some of the special projects that we have are crisis technology. This came out of the COVID situation where we are providing loaner laptops for those students that had to migrate to full online programming, hotspots, internet access, anything that would make it possible for them to complete and stay in their educational path, even with the challenges of COVID. We have just kicked off TANF funded work study. This is very much like your typical traditional work study, but it does require, because it is TANF funded, a higher degree of skills development. So we will assign students to working positions on a college campus and pay their subsidized wages through our CPI funding and while they go to school. We had about $82,000 for crisis technology this year, $825,000 available for the TANF funded work study, the same amount for work-based learning, which is very much like TANF, except this is where we would place students in employment, subsidized employment off campus among the community. And then the real star of this is Education Pays. And if we can move on to the next slide, Nicole. We have about $1.5 million that is available to colleges statewide, and it is a recruitment and retention strategy. So for example, if a student is brand new to CPI, we will give them $100. And if they are taking at least 6 hours and they are at a 2.0 grade point at midterm, we will give them $300. And if they are at a 2.0 in those hours at the end of their term, we will give them another $300. And if that payout is there until they complete their program, at which time they will, if they successfully complete, we'll give them a bonus of $500. So this is discretionary income that they can have to meet some of those real challenges of maintaining a household while studying. And we have opened that up to statewide. We have 12 colleges that have taken advantage of it so far this term. with about $245,000 awarded and serving 346 students. So we expect this to be a very highly visible program, successful program for recruiting students into CPI and then helping them be retained. Next one, Nicole. So as with college in general, our challenge is enrollment. We have, as you would imagine, we've had decline in enrollment. Our funding is very stable, which I'm glad to report, and in fact has increased with some of these special projects. But that is our challenge going forward, is to enroll more students, find more students who are eligible and meet the criteria and are ready to go to work. This is Miss Betty. She is a graduate of the diesel program, and she is working on her truck that she purchased because she wants to be a long haul truck driver, but she wanted the diesel program so that she could take care of maintenance and operations on her truck rather than having to pay for that. So she is also another success story. Next slide, Nicole. Because enrollment is such a challenge, we have this year updated and refreshed all of our marketing materials. You see on the screen in front of you samples of some of our new printed materials. We had a videographer go around to 7 different institutions and tape testimonials of students, actual students who are in our programs now that we are using for outreach. And if you would go on to the next one, Nicole, part of that outreach was through an intense social media word of mouth campaign that we conducted in July and August of this year. These are a couple of the posts that we have on our Facebook page, and you'll notice that it's not necessarily about going to school. It's about family and relationships and improving livelihoods. And so we think that that's a great outreach strategy for us to use. So we had those printed materials. Next one. But as part of that campaign that I mentioned, we did an intense 2-month campaign. We spent about $10,000 on Facebook ads and posts. And you can see the numbers in front of you. The first column is for the 2 months of July and August. The column on your right is 6 months preceding the first half of 2021. And you can see the vast difference in contacts and outreach that we've had just with those 2 months of outreach. Over 2 million people saw our ads. About 1/10 of those actually took an action. They clicked it, they liked it, they forwarded it. We saw a huge increase in visits to our website from the Facebook. You can see from 69 to almost 5,000. And I won't go through all of those numbers for you, but we ended up with over almost 400 people applying, doing the pre-app on our website. And we are following up with those now. As soon as our full numbers come in, we'll know whether or not that was successful and whether we want to continue to do this kind of outreach or if we need to look at something else. Nicole, next one. So I think that concludes my remarks. Again, you can see who our partners are. I'm Manisa West. This is where you can reach me. I'm always happy to talk about this fabulous program. There's many programs in education where you do not get to necessarily see an immediate outcome or an immediate result. CPI is not one of those programs. We see the change in people's lives every day, which makes it very much a great pleasure to work with this program with the colleges that deliver it, and to see the results that we achieve through these other partnerships. I appreciate it. You can let me know if there are questions. I'll be glad to talk with you.
Thank you so much, Monisa. I think you all see why we like to feature Monisa's programs so often, because she does a great job presenting them, and they are truly life-changing, family-changing programs that she is involved with. So that concludes my director's report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Markham, and thank you, Director West. I have to say, for a Friday that started off with technical difficulties and the not having the ability to start the meeting on time, that was worth it. Those stories did my heart well today, so I appreciate you sharing. Thank you very much.
They are fabulous. Thank you very much.
Agenda item number 5 was unintentionally left on the agenda. So up next, we'll have informational item number 6. Dr. Markham will present the annual status report for sexual assault prevention on campus. Dr. Markham.
Thank you. So we have a statutory requirement to annually update you on what our activities are on campuses to prevent two things, sexual assault and unplanned pregnancy. So the next two agenda items are our annual reports of those activities. And you can see there that the campuses are required to incorporate information for preventative purposes for both of these programs. And I thought that the best way to provide you with an update with some examples of what we're doing on campus. So the next slide are some of the print publications that go out that I think a couple of these are from UALR, and you see the one there from ASU Newport, where they teach about consent and awareness and how to both prevent and report sexual assault on campus. So those are some of the really good examples of the things that are placed where students can see them. The next thing that I wanted to show you is actually my favorite. It is a video that some of our institutions require that students view at their new student orientation to teach about consent and to help prevent sexual assault. So it's about a 3-minute clip, and we're gonna watch that. And then if you have any questions about the other activities on campus, I will open it up for questions. Oh, Nicole, we're not getting any volume on that.
If you're still struggling with consent, just imagine instead of initiating sex, you're making them a cup of tea. You say, "Hey, would you like a cup of tea?" And they go, "Oh my God, I would love a cup of tea. Thank you." Then you know they want a cup of tea. If you say, "Hey, would you like a cup of tea?" And they're like, I'm not really sure. Then you could make them a cup of tea or not, but be aware they might not drink it. And if they don't drink it, then, and this is the important part, don't make them drink it. Just because you made it doesn't mean you are entitled to watch them drink it. And if they say no thank you, then don't make them tea. At all. Just don't make them tea. Don't make them drink tea. Don't get annoyed at them for not wanting tea. They just don't want tea, okay? They might say, "Yes, please. That's kind of you." And then when the tea arrives, they actually don't want the tea at all. Sure, that's kind of annoying as you've gone to all the effort of making the tea, but they remain under no obligation to drink the tea. They did want tea, now they don't. Some people change their mind in the time that it takes to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk. And it's okay for people to change their mind. And you are still not entitled to watch them drink it. And if they're unconscious, don't make them tea. Unconscious people don't want tea. And they can't answer the question, "Do you want tea?" because they're unconscious. Okay, maybe they were conscious when you asked them if they wanted tea. And they said yes. But in the time it took you to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk, they are now unconscious. You should just put the tea down. Make sure the unconscious person is safe. And this is the important part again. Don't make them drink the tea. They said yes then, sure, but unconscious people don't want tea. If someone said yes to tea, started drinking it, and then passed out before they'd finished it, don't keep on pouring it down their throat. Take the tea away. Make sure they're safe, because unconscious people don't want tea. Trust me on this. If someone said yes to tea around your house last Saturday, that doesn't mean they want you to make them tea all the time. They don't want you to come around to their place unexpectedly and make them tea and force them to drink it going, "But you wanted tea last week." Or to wake up to find you pouring tea down their throat going, "But you wanted tea last night." If you can understand how completely ludicrous it is to force people to have tea when they don't want tea, and you're able to understand when people don't want tea, then how hard is it to understand it when it comes to sex? Whether it's tea or sex, consent is everything. And on that note, I'm going to go make myself a cup of tea.
Okay, so that was a really simple way to teach consent to college students. And I think it's very descriptive, but I think we all get it. So I really like that one. ASUBB, I stole that from you. Thank you very much for that. So the next report that we give is on our unplanned pregnancy prevention. This is another statutory requirement that institutions provide education and training to their students to prevent unplanned pregnancy. So I'm going to do something similar here. Some of our partners helped produce this video a couple of years ago that many of our institutions are now incorporating into their new student orientation. So we're going to play that video as well.
Coffee. Thank goodness I have a day off from school. Let's see what I have to do today. Have algebra homework, a paper to write, 2 exams to study for on Monday. Then after that, I get to have my day with Sam. Let's see, what is my paper on? Discuss unplanned pregnancies of young adults in Arkansas and the impact it has on their lives. I think I'm gonna need more coffee. I never really thought about ever getting pregnant. I really didn't want kids until after I got through with college, and I wanted to be a surgeon, and I had so many different plans. I mean, I had my whole life planned out. I was young and naive to everything. I just thought, I can do this and nothing's gonna happen. I'm not gonna end up pregnant. I'm not gonna be that girl.
We didn't think we had any kind of risks.
I didn't really think that much about it. I just kind of thought it was something that would never happen. You know, and be careful. It's just not gonna happen, you know. And then it did.
Once I found out, I lost a lot of friends. I lost family. Just really kind of looked down on me. I was embarrassed. You know, it's kind of, what am I supposed to do now? I knew, you know, that life was completely going to change for me. And I was really worried about what my family was going to say.
They kind of made jokes about it, but then slowly I lost a lot of friends.
Went from not having any responsibility to having a full-time responsibility.
I want to be able to get everything done, trying to get school, and then I don't get off work till 8 or 9 o'clock at night every single day of the week.
Friday night would have been bonfire, maybe sitting around watching movies with all my friends. Something not crazy, but at least I'd have, you know, a dozen friends or so I'd be hanging out with. Now without, on a Friday is at home with the kids, you know, watching Dora. A lot of Dora.
Is that what you have in mind for you? Because that's not what I have in mind for me. There needs to be a long time between me now and me as a mom later. Hey, yeah, I'm sorry. I know I said 5 minutes, like 20 minutes ago, but I'll be done soon, I promise. Okay. Mwah. Okay, talk to you later. Bye. It's okay. He can wait. I'm worth it.
In Arkansas, we have a teen pregnancy crisis. We have the highest teen birth rate in the nation, the worst out of 50 states. We can't get any worse.
For more information, contact the Arkansas Department of Higher Education.
Okay, I think you get it. And that is another one of the informational pieces that we produced in order to help cut down on unplanned pregnancies. So those are the 2 reports, Mr. Chair.
Dr. Marco, can I ask a question? I'm just curious about something.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't mean to be controversial. I'm just curious about it. I realize that you have a statutory requirement to to talk about these two things, and I'm not saying they're not important, but I'm just curious. Do you view these two things and as part of the core mission? Like, I don't see anything about in the master plan that would link back to these, and I don't see anything in the mission statement. Do you view them as something that links back to your master plan or your mission statement, or do you just view them as statutory requirements that you're required to do?
I do not view those as part of the mission of the Department of Higher Education. It is more of the mission of the institutions that it links to in providing for the well-being of the students that reside on their campus. So it's really more of our obligation to support that work. It does not directly tie back to our higher education master plan, though.
So you view it as an indirect, in your opinion?
Yes.
Got it. I noticed, the videos are nice, and by the way, again, I'm not trying to be controversial. I have two college age daughters, and I certainly don't want them pregnant, and I certainly don't want them assaulted. And so do we have any data, or is it just programs that you're required to do?
We don't collect data on the programs, but we do collect data as part of the Clery Act on sexual assault on campuses. So we do collect data on that. And then it's statewide data on the unplanned pregnancy information. We can't directly correlate it to anything we're doing on our campuses, but it is something that we feel like is in line with the intent of the legislation. And we actually produce these pieces at the request of our institutions, because you get a mandate to provide this information and to be able to demonstrate that you're following the statute. So many times when those types of mandates come down, our institutions are grappling for resources and the best way to provide that information for our students. So producing these types of pieces, it simplifies that process for institutions. It gives them something kind of off the shelf that they can plug into their orientation process without being concerned about meeting that mandate.
Okay. Because of that, would you say that it also links back to, I don't know if any institution is involved in any litigation. Would you also say it's a mitigation step in litigation, or is that not really appropriate?
I would say that it's a piece that an institution could provide, that they have done due diligence and attempted to provide education and prevention strategies to their students.
Okay. Yeah, because sometimes I look at it and I say, well, I wonder how many reports we have to do. I realize you have no control of this, it's statutory, but if they just said, I look at it and say, I wonder if you'll have to do reports on, your carbon footprint, on obesity. We could think of lots of different issues that we think are important in our society today. And I'm just curious if it really links back to the mission of delivering education as opposed to delivering cultural views of the legislature.
You're correct. And pretty much every session we get a new report. So after these, we had a suicide prevention. There are a couple other things, and then there are lots of statutory reports that you're going to see that that we're required to collect and provide information on.
Yeah, and I'll just go ahead and ask my question on the Star Spangled Banner. I love the Star Spangled Banner. I'm just trying to make a point. Is there anywhere in your mission or anywhere in the master plan that fostering patriotism is a key aspect of delivering higher education?
No, sir.
Got it. Thank you.
All very, very good questions. Thank you for that. Are there any other questions for Dr. Markham on either the unplanned pregnancy prevention report or the sexual assault prevention on campus report? Hearing none, we will move on to the Star Spangled Banner Act. Agenda item number 8, Dr. Markham.
Thank you. Act 958 created the Star Spangled Banner Act. This basically requires that each of our institutions develop a policy that meets the guidelines and the requirements of the Star Spangled Banner Act. So you will find the rules in your board book that basically this board is directing the institutions to create a policy that aligns with those requirements.
Any further questions on the Star Spangled Banner Act for Dr. Mark?
This is Kevin Anderson. I've just got a question about, does this apply to private institutions as well?
No, sir. This only applies to state-supported institutions.
And I noticed there are no, or I didn't see them anyway, there's no enforcement or penalties. I mean, what if there's a violation of this act? What's the consequences?
The consequences would be that they were reported to the legislature as being in violation.
So there's no provisions of enforcement or penalties. It's just a reporting.
Yes. Yes, you would be out of compliance.
Gotcha. Okay, no further questions on that.
Any other questions for Dr. Mark on the Star Spangled Banner? Hearing none, we'll move on to action item, agenda item number 9, recognition of an institution as a non-formula unit, Arkansas Tech University. Dr. Markham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The administration and board of trustees of Arkansas Tech University request official recognition of the Arkansas Tech Institute as a non-formula unit of ATU. They wish to establish and operate ATI with a mission to connect individuals to viable careers, strengthen the state's workforce and economic development, and grow and sustain communities. ATI will serve as an educational and training and communication pipeline to connect adult learners and unemployed and underemployed individuals to careers matched to their interests and skills by aligning education and training goals with career aspiration. Dr. Gunner from Arkansas Tech University and Chancellor Sykes are on the call to present additional information on this concept.
Can you hear me? Dr. Markham, we appreciate that. Chairman and members of the board, Arkansas Tech is pleased to present this request for this official recognition. We feel that the approval of this request will help us enhance our partnerships that we're currently working on as we look at our institution having an entity, a non-formula entity that will not be a degree granting entity, but one that will serve to provide for training and for communication pipelines for our partners as we work to increase economic development within our area. We'll serve our collaborative grants and our efforts that are already underway at the local, state, and national level so that we have a mechanism by which we can work collaboratively to continue to solicit grants and to work in order to provide this particular connectivity for these adult learners and the opportunities for economic development and employment in our area. The partners are very important to us, and I'd like to ask Chancellor Sykes to discuss the importance and who those partners are.
So good morning. My name is Bruce Sykes, and it's my privilege to represent the Ozark campus of Arkansas Tech University. Arkansas Tech University enjoys well over 400 industry partners. And I'm sorry, we've got another slide. Not sure who has control of that just yet. Thank you. So, and this slide represents a sample of the regional industry partners that we enjoy with Arkansas Tech University. And in addition to our industry partners, the Arkansas Tech Institute would engage over 23 public schools, regional community colleges, technical colleges, such as the Ozark campus, adult education, third-party training providers, chambers of commerce, community nonprofits, such as Boys and Girls Clubs, and various state and federal agencies to include local municipalities and of course, our local, state, and federal officials. This initiative also supports the governor's Ready for Life initiative.
If there's any questions, we'd certainly be happy to entertain those.
Are there any questions for
I'm
either?
assuming, yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Dr. Carr.
I'm assuming this may help you with, as you seek private grants, is that correct?
Yes, we're currently working with various sources, and we feel that this would be very beneficial to enhance that effort.
I make a motion, we approve that, Mr. Chairman.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you
Agenda
very
item
much.
number 9 carries. Thank you. Informational agenda item number 10. Report on academic program deletions. Ms. Rachel Lewis will present.
Good morning. So every year, ADHE academic staff receives letters of notification from colleges and universities informing us of their intent to delete an academic program, and each quarter those deletions are presented for approval to the board. So this annual report that I'm going to give now provides a summary of all the programs that were deleted during the 21 academic year. So the two-year colleges accounted for basically 61% of all the academic program deletions, while the four-year universities had 39% during academic year 21. The associate degrees and the certificates accounted for 80% of the program deletions, while the bachelor's and higher level credentials comprised over only 20% of them. For the four-year institutions, UCA, UALR, and Henderson State deleted the most academic programs. Now for UCA, of the 9 programs that they deleted, all of those were undergraduate programs. For our two-year colleges, 12 of the 22 deleted at least one program during academic year 21. Southeast Arkansas College and Cossatot Community College deleted the most, followed by SAU Tech, Black River Technical College, and National Park College. So this slide shows you the academic program deletions by program area. So the security and protective services, health professions, mechanic and repair technologies, and the business and management and marketing are the zip codes that had the most programs that were deleted in their area. Are there any questions?
Rachel, I'm surprised that there are 11 health programs being deleted when there's a great need for healthcare workers. What kind of programs are those?
Let me
We're considering a new 4-year program in nursing. Are we getting rid of some nursing programs around the state?
I don't believe that they're nursing. Let me see if I can filter down to those and give you more specifics. So it's one of the programs is like in communication sciences and disorders. There's auditory-based intervention, athletic training, phlebotomy, medical office administration. So some of those are more not in the nursing industry, but more those things that are affiliated, more in the administration type.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Rachel, Jerry Cash, I noticed certificates of proficiency were deleted, I guess, by several schools. Why is that happening? And in addition to that question is, are the certificates of proficiency included in the productivity count for a formula basis?
Yes, they are. Honestly, I couldn't tell you why they've chosen to delete some of these. Some of them are probably more that they deleted it and maybe came up with a different program that was more geared to the high demand or to maybe a STEM category, but I honestly couldn't answer that.
Okay, well,
I would guess that most of those were deleted because of enrollments, weren't they?
Yeah, and part of it would probably be program viability.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Lewis? Thank you, Ms. Lewis. I think you're still on the agenda for our next informational item, annual report on credentials awarded.
Okay, so every year the colleges and universities submit a graduated student file to our Arkansas Higher Education Information System. So the file contains a record for every credential awarded between July 1st and June 30th. So this report is going to cover AY21. So between 19 and 20, there was a very slight decrease in total credentials, but in 2021, it actually increased by 0.2%. Over the last 5 years, from 2017 to 2021, the number of credentials awarded has increased 9%. So bachelor degree and technical certificate credentials have remained relatively unchanged, while both the associate degrees and the certificates of proficiency categories have declined in the past year. So for the graduate level credentials, every category experienced a 1-year increase, and that ranged from 1.9% to 30.7%. And the 30.7% is actually in the doctoral professional practice area, and that's because of the Arkansas College of Health Education's College of Osteopathy graduating their first class. So this shows you the race ethnicity breakdown of the certificates and degrees that were awarded, and credentials awarded to students who are Asian, Hispanic, or 2 or more races. Those have experienced the most consistent growth over the past 5 years. And as part of the productivity funding formula, extra points can be earned by awarding credentials in a STEM area. So between 2017 and 2021, STEM credentials have increased by 9.4%. And then similarly, extra points can be earned by awarding credentials in high demand areas. And between 17 and 21, the high demand awards have increased by 9.8%. Are there any questions?
One question, Rachel, on the osteopathic medicine. Has ASU started or have they completed any of their programs over there? Have they had any graduates?
I believe so. I don't have the number offhand, but I could get that to you.
And the number at Fort Smith, is that a number that they think will be graduating each year, or is that just an inflated number for the first year?
No, I believe that they're expecting that graduating class to continue.
Okay. So both osteopathic programs are turning out graduates at the current time at ASU and at Fort Smith?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to just to commend Dr. Markham and our staff. The number of credentials awarded is a goal of our governors, increasing that, a goal of Dr. Markham's, a goal of the, whatever we call him, Secretary of Education. And I mean, I think this is just terrific that if you look back 4 years, we're giving, awarding about 10% more credentials than we were in 17. And even with the problem with the virus right now, the numbers are still holding up and growing. And I want to commend our people on our campuses.
Thank you for that comment, Dr. Carr. I echo your comments. What a wonderful report. We've mentioned 2 or 3 years, I guess 2 years in a row now, how excited we are to see that growth continue on in the midst of challenges. and to see it continuing to go. Wonderful, wonderful work. So thank you all. Any other comments or questions for Ms. Lewis? Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Our next agenda item is an action item, agenda item A, rules repeal on Minority Masters Fellows Program. I believe Dr. Markham will be presenting this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I do apologize that these were not on your original agenda. These are some late additions that we just neglected to include, but we have a couple of rules repeals. These are simply cleaning up our rules for programs that are no longer in existence. So the Minority Masters Fellows Program hasn't been operational for a number of years. However, in a review of our rules that are still in the book of the Secretary of State, we just discovered that it was still there. So we are asking to repeal the rules for this defunct program.
Are there any questions for Dr. Markham? Dr. Markham, just information so that we're all aware. Can you tell me how many years this program has been defunct?
I know that it's been longer than 5 because that's how long I have been with the department, and we did not have this program when I got here. So it's been at least 5, maybe longer.
So this is strictly housekeeping, just removing it. Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. Any other questions? Do I hear a motion to approve the repeal of the Minority Masters Fellows Program rules?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Similarly, action agenda item B, repeal the Minority Teacher Scholars Program rules and regulations. Dr. Mark.
Correct. This is a similar rule repeal for a program that was created. I actually don't think this program was ever funded, but it was one that we promulgated rules for. However, it was later repealed as a statute. So the rules also need to be repealed for this non-active unfunded program.
Any questions on this agenda item for Dr. Markham? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And agenda item C, the repeal of emergency secondary education loan program rules and regulations. Dr. Markham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the last of the housekeeping items, rule repeal. This is not a program that is in existence, does not receive funding, and therefore we are cleaning up our rules by eliminating this one.
Any questions for Dr. Markham on agenda item C? I would just comment, I like this housekeeping. I like doing away with rules and regulations for programs that are defunct and unfunded. Do I hear a motion to approve this action item C?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Thank you for that, Dr. Markham. Next, we'll hear the report of the Finance Committee. Mr. Revels.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee would like to recommend the approval of agenda items 12 through 18 to the full board.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Thank you, Mr. Revels. Thank you to everyone on the Finance Committee for their work today and always. We'll hear a report of the Academic Committee for Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Academic Committee has reviewed items 23 and 24, and we recommend approval of agenda items 20 through 22.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you to everyone on the academic committee, and thank you today, Mr. Anderson, for filling in. I really appreciate your help and support. We will now open the floor to any presidents and chancellors who wish to address the board for any comments. Are there any comments from the board? I want to take one more opportunity to thank all the institutions that presented today and all the program directors that presented today. Thank you very much. I know this agenda was long. I appreciate everyone's patience with the technical difficulties, but I thank everyone for being here. One brief announcement: the next quarterly meeting is scheduled for January 28th via Zoom. And as we have the ability to meet in person, we will change that to an in-person meeting as we deem things safe to meet that way. Any other questions or comments before we adjourn? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you all for being here today. I appreciate everyone. We will be adjourned. Nicole, Dr. Markham, I promise you, I've never had that kind of technical difficulty with my computer ever. I've
You
already
would
texted my IT guy.
Good at it by now, Al.
I'm sorry.
2 years into this, you ought to be an expert.
I know. And I was dialing from my office phone. And I couldn't get it to come on. And then I dialed from my cell phone and it was working perfectly. But I'm pretty sure Nicole muted my cell phone.
I think I did too.
And so suddenly my computer started working right after that. So I do apologize for some of those technical difficulties. I won't take credit for all of them. Some of them were people not muted, and I don't know what that feedback was from the speakers. I've never heard that one on here after 2 years.
And because of the feedback, I started muting everyone that wasn't speaking, and I muted your cell phone because I didn't recognize the number.
Well, I do apologize. That meeting didn't go as smoothly as it could, but with such a long agenda item such a long agenda with so many items, I'm glad that we were able to get through that in a timely manner.
Yeah, after that first little hiccup, I thought it went really well. So
those two videos, are those available?
yeah, they're public domain. So there was actually a staff member here at Department of Higher Ed that's no longer with the department that developed the second one. But I think you can just Google unplanned pregnancy prevention in Arkansas, and there's a site just for that. And then the other one, it's a YouTube video that several of our institutions use, but when they send in their reports, they included the link. So I had it, but you can just YouTube it, T sexual assault.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought that
I've never seen a video like that. Yeah. Unique perspective. I really like it.
Well, and it was one of the shorter ones. So a lot of the institutions do videos, but they were like 30 minutes long. And I thought it's short, it's concise. If you can't get this, you can't get anything. So that's why I included that one.
Well, I'm going to sign off here. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Thank you for your support. Thanks for walking me through that and helping me with the technical difficulties. I appreciate you guys. And if you need anything from me, I'm just a phone call away.
Same here. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
now.